you can see maybe the cloves that I saved for this. I mean, they're big. They're big. Big, big, big. So maybe they'll make big garlic. Who knows? I'm going to spread these apart just a little bit more than normal. You know, it's hard to hold that up. This is the fun part of videoing garlic planting. But I was thinking that they's giving rain tomorrow. That's why I want to try to get this out today. I could pick a better day to have done this. A cooler day. A cooler day. I just go through here and drop these. You know, it kind of makes sense when you're planting stuff. I know it's hard to do sometimes. You take a big old clove of garlic and throw it back in the ground. I'm just going to say right there. I try to set these where that when I come back and space them, they'll be about 8 inches apart or so. I used to try to put all the big ones together, and I'm putting them, whatever's in here, going in the ground. And then I want to count them and see how many I kind of like keep up to how many I've planted. Because these things get pretty big. They need to be about 8 inches apart, in my opinion. I was wondering if this basket was going to get any lighter, and I think it is. It seems to be getting a little lighter. You know, I don't know how this is going to tally out through here. What I'm saying is I don't know if I'll need the 4th row. Honestly, I don't know. The part that I don't like, and I don't mind, but the part I kind of dread doing, as usual, is going through and setting the cloves, orienting them in the proper direction. Now there's a few in here that are littler, let's put it that way. They're still big cloves. So I just try to avoid the small ones when it gets down to the nitty-gritty here. And that way, if I've got any left when I get done, it will be the small ones instead of the big ones. As I was saying, when you're planting anything, when you're saving seed, you always want to put your best back. If you save your best to eat and plant the little puny ones back, you're heading for disaster in the end. Heading for disaster. You don't ever want to do that. You give back your best, not your worst. If you do, you'll find out things will work out a lot better for you. I don't mean only in the garden either. We all have trouble doing that, I guess. I'll tell you the reason too that we have trouble doing it all the time is because it's in the Bible that says rules and regulations to go by, laws to go by, God's laws. Of course, got an adversary that anything the Bible says that's to do one way. Seems like there's always something there to try to swing it back in the wrong direction. Now, you know, we've got 3 rows of garlic here. I'll show you what I've got left. And these are small ones. They're smaller. They're smaller than the ones in there, but yet they're still big cloves. Yep. Yes, sir. Maybe you can see in there. Awful bright. These are pretty good size cloves of garlic. There's our 3 rows that we've got so far. Yeah, there's some guidelines a person a lot of times should go by, biblical guidelines, that is. Biblical guidelines. Well, maybe it'll hang on there. Maybe it won't. Yeah, there's guidelines, rules and regulations that usually apply pretty good to life. And most of the time it'll be to your advantage to go by them. You know, when we're born on this earth, you know, we'll be mighty lucky to live to 100. Most never make it there. No one knows who will and who won't. So what we learn in our lifetime while we're here, very, very short time. For some reason, we get to thinking that it's all about us. We know everything. Use this to very small analogy. Would be however old you are, whoever's listening. $40, $50, $60, $70, $80-year-old, $90-year-old, $95-year-old. That's a long life. But what if you could live, or what if you had lived, and it be possible now, if you was old as Methuselah? What if you was born almost 1,000 years ago versus someone that's sitting here that was born 85 or 90 years ago? Who do you think has seen the most stuff happen? Who do you think? Now I'm saying if both were honest, truthful, and in their right minds, unlike some leadership we have. Anyway, let's not get there. Who do you think would have the most, I won't say intelligence, knowledge, that's the word. And I'm talking about first-hand witnessing things, you know. I don't mean gathering hearsay. I'm talking about who do you think would have the most knowledge? without a thought. You know, someone been around for 1,000 years. So if you take someone that's been around, oh my, well, we can't even put God in this category. He created it all. I mean, what, time don't matter to him. Time don't affect him. It affects all of us. So this, like I said, there's rules and regulations that people need to go by. They do need to go by them, and they should go by them. But like I said, anytime that the Bible references directions in proper and good ways for humanity, humans, it seems like the world is pulling 180 degrees from it just hard as it can pull. It's amazing. It is amazing. It's not complicated. I mean, the Bible's not complicated. Religion and people, humans, made it complicated. They've got a motive. They've got a motive. I don't think Jesus said that the way is so simple that a fool shouldn't err, basically. A fool shouldn't err. That's saying a lot. I don't want to. I need to. What I need to do? I need to stop right here, I guess, before we go any further. The point's this: when you're planting something, and you've got a bunch of big cloves or seed, or you know, when you save seed from something, unless you're wanting to go back and restrict and decline something, you'd want to pick the seeds from the biggest thing, the proper size, everything. And that's not 100% necessary. You know, it's just like hickory king corn. There's corn down there. It'll grow. Some of it'll put not much, but you'll run across some with 12 rows. Some of them with 6 rows. So when you save seed, you know, what I gather from hickory king corn is, you know, its trait is 8 rows. And that, of course, they'll be wider, you know, 8 rows. If you've got 12 rows, you can just get so much on a cob, and they'll start being smaller kernels. You want big kernels. There's a lot of times people make hominy out of it. Squirrels waiting on me to get out of here where they can move in. Yeah, there's that a bird. Let's not get distracted here by a squirrel or a bird. When you plant stuff, when you offer stuff, when you're planting it back, you know, you know, it's like when they sacrificed animals many, many years ago. And some may have done it, but I'll tell you one thing, they didn't fool nobody but themselves. But you're supposed to offer the biggest, fattest, the best, you know. You know, if you've got big old fat cows and pigs and sheep or whatever, I'm sure it wasn't pigs, but at the time. But when they sacrificed stuff, they didn't bring in the little puny, weak, sickly stuff to sacrifice. They brought the best of the best. And so when you plant back, you plant the best of the best back, you will see the payback in one season. That's a fact. Don't take my word for it. But I'm going to show you, you plant little bitty cloves, you'll get a little bit bigger maybe if you're lucky cloves next year. But you plant the big ones, you're going to start out with a big robust plant and you'll get your best production. Now it's pretty warm out here today, so I'll get out here and start. I won't let this camera run the whole process of me turning that garlic up, but I need to get out here and get her situated where I can get it covered up. I've cooled enough. Yeah, I have cooled enough. I surely have. You got a root side and a pointed side. That's a chestnut. We'll lay it right over there somewhere. And just go through and set that down in the ground. It's like, yeah. Lots and lots of ups and downs. But if you situate your chair properly, go past where you can reach, just like that, and you can get 4 or 5 feet there at a time. 3 or 4, 5 or 6, whatever. Yeah, you want to make that sharp end up. Let it get started in the right direction. You don't want to plant something and it gets started off in the wrong direction. I don't want to cook my garlic out here in the sun. That ground's fairly cool from last night. You know, this time of year. That ain't funny, but I think it is. This time of year, you have to be ready for that global cooling. It's about time of year for global cooling. Next spring, it'll start that global warming back up again. You know, they are a problem of some kind. There'll be seed time and there'll be harvest time. As long as this earth stands. That's why I keep planting. Seed time and harvest time. As long as this earth stands. And don't you let no one else tell you different. Ain't that right, Duke? Duke will tell you, too. See, up and down like this, it just burns my legs up. But it's a known fact that you have to put forth the effort. And then after you get this done, all these set, which, for as I'm concerned, is the worst part of it all. It's that bending up and down that gets me. But once you get these set, I think the worst part's over. If I'd do more bending and stuff, I'd probably be better off. I've done my share. I'll tell you how. I've done my share in my lifetime. So when you get there, turn around and go the other way. And keep it up. Just keep it up. And it won't be too long till you get done. I mean, what do you do? What do you say when you plant garlic? You say 1 little, 2 little, 3 little garlics. Another thing about this little stool, you can rest. See, my legs is burning like fire. And that's just the lack of using them. Bending stuff. You just take your time, rest. There's no race. No race. I'm kind of amazed at those turnips coming up. I'm sure it's what it is. Almost sure. See what I can do now. I can go right through here with that little tractor. Cultivate this when it needs it. Good and slow. We'll see how it works out. I hope I've got everything spaced without, I don't want it close to where it's, I know I could get them closer. But I want to focus in the center here and not have to worry about where my wheels is at. So I'll give it a little extra room. And see, I planted lots of stuff in here, the brassicas and stuff, and we eat some, but Lord have mercy. And nobody, my sister, she took some, and a couple times. And of course, anybody gets sick of this stuff. When you've got a garden full of it, that's why when people raise produce, they've got a market. They go to the market. And I would too if I was doing this for, for a living to sell. I don't do this to sell. I just do it to have food, and in case something was to happen that extra people needed it. You never know. So, and I enjoy doing it. I like planting stuff and watching it grow. Building the soil and All I do is plant it. I don't do nothing. I just try to loosen the ground and keep everything in order. I just place the seeds in a growing medium and try to nurture it the best I can. God does 99.999% of the rest of it. People ever get to the point where that they think they're growing, I mean they're tending, being stewards of it like they should to start with. But if they get to the point that they think that they're really they're producing it, careful where you tread, people. Because it's like, you know, I'm bending over here making an effort. And I've got faith that next year this will grow garlic. I'll tell you something else I can do. I can go over and sit on that porch and I can look out here at this garden and I can have faith that I'm going to grow garlic. And this probably ain't nowhere near what this means. That's what it means to me. Faith, you say without works is dead. Gardening by faith alone might not work out unless you got a little works. It goes a long way. You work as long as the Lord gives you ability to do it. But I tell you what, it's also in there about getting old and can't do it. About your eyes going dim, and I'll just tell you, if you get confused, it's all there. It's all written down for you. Put it to the test. You think there's nothing to it and it don't work. Most of the time, people that does that's never tried to understand it or tried to read it. Be like buying a new sewing machine and just take for granted that you think that you know how it operates without even reading the instruction manual. There's a gradual slope downhill here, and I can tell it every time I bend over here. So my advice is to read the instruction manual, the owner's manual. Yes, sir, the owner's manual. The next break I take over here, I may take a little longer one. You know, I said that I was gonna maybe plant 4 rows of garlic. Should I? Should I plant 4 rows of garlic? I gotta get over here and rest now. Goodness gracious, it's pea picking good. Planting garlic and stuff like this time of year, especially after going through the whole garden season and cycle, you have to put a little effort into it to get your garden spot ready. And you want to try to keep it clean on up until where the grass and weeds stop growing this fall after some heavy frost, and you don't have to worry about it too much. But from now till then, stuff will grow. Weeds and stuff will grow. And it ain't too big a deal out in the rest of the garden. But around your plant, your garlic, now I've let that happen the last couple of years. I've neglected to get out and hoe it and get those weeds knocked down. And that's why I wanted to space it where I can work it instead of having them all close together where you're working around the stuff. I mean, if you're in a confined space, that's fine, it will work. And if you ain't got, but just a little bitty patch, or, you know, 10 by 10, 8 by 8 or something, 5 by 5, 4 by 8 or whatever, a little garden. And you can raise a lot of garlic right there, I'll tell you can. I don't want to have to do that. I want to put these in rows and space them significantly where that I can easily hoe and walk up and down through there without worrying about stepping on the others and getting them all in a mess. And then when you do that, and then if something happens and you let it get away from you a little bit, it'd be just like mine was this year. You'll be pulling your garlics out of hen bit and creeping Charlie. Don't want to do that next year. So that's one reason I wanted to space this where I could easily drive through there and cultivate it, hoe it, till it, whatever has to be done. It'd be nice if nothing has to be done. I'm just looking, observing here. And when I do, I understand completely how fortunate that I am to have access to this garden. And I'm looking here right now at my little garlic area here. And I'm not going to go that way. If I put any more garlic, it will be this way. And that's probably what I'll do. I'll put another row here, maybe. I ain't decided whether to or not. The reason is I had 12 rows. I used to raise 12 rows of garlic, 8 to 12. And I think one year I had 12 rows. And believe me, that's a chore in itself. It's a job. I'm not trying to create myself another job. So you can get the big eye and think, well, oh boy, if I do this, I can just plant some more, and you can. And like me, you'll have about 4 bushel. I'm not exaggerating. Of big cloves that go south on you. They will go south. They will rot. That don't sound right. Going south. Going down, going rotten. That's what I mean by that. I've got a lot of people south that watch my video. I don't want to think I'm throwing off on the south, because that's where I'd like to be. It'll go bad on you. Anything just holds so long, just keeps so long. I thought about buying me a food freeze dryer at one time, and I'd say this garlic, of course you'd have to have it outside. I'd hate to. I could only imagine freeze drying and dehydrating garlic, what it would actually taste like. Them leaves is coming down, man. Already, that's good. I like it. I like it. I need to be cutting firewood. I dread that. I really do dread it this year, because I'm thinking that it's going to stay warm on up into the fall. And I may be completely wrong, because it can change just like that. Getting back to what I was saying before the procrastination kicked in, is that what they call it, or they call it digression? So anyway, my area here, what I started to say 30 minutes ago, my little garlic area here, looking at that, and I'm thinking, if that's all I had, and that's all a lot of people do have, and twice or 3 times as much as some people's little allotments that they have and stuff I've watched, especially in UK over there. It's what you make of this. I mean, I feel bad. I don't feel bad. I'm happy and glad, but when I look at this, I feel sorry for people that don't have it. Let's put it that way. Because a person could take just this garlic patch here and work it functional, thoughtful, careful, and you would produce more food right there than you'd probably need in a year. Now, common sense will tell you that you can't take a little spot, say a 60 by, what is that, 20, 30, 25, 30 foot wide and 60, 65, 70 foot long, and produce enough food solely out of that garden to feed a family of 4 or 5 for a year. A lot of people think, well, I'll raise me a garden, that way I'll be self-sufficient and I can feed myself. You ain't thinking. That's all I'm saying. Or you don't eat much one. Because it takes a lot of real estate to feed a family of 4 or 5, strictly if you had no other source but just out of that garden. It could be done if you had enough land, but you won't do it on a little 30 by 60 lot, I can tell you right now. If you can, I need to know your secrets. I see people, and of course there's nothing wrong with it. The thing that's wrong with it, in my opinion, the thing that's wrong with stuff like that, talking like that, they're going to survive, and they've got a little garden out here, and they really placing things strategically and got everything just perfect, looks perfect. And just a little row of radishes and a little row of lettuce. Man, and they're delicious. I love them. They just don't have enough BTUs in them to fuel me, I can tell you right now. You got to have some of them heavy carb foods, potatoes, corn, pumpkins, squash, turnips, rootstock. Let's put it that way. I think you'll find the most condensed packages in your rootstock, turnips, rutabagas, parsnips, turnips, I said that again, potatoes, sweet potatoes. But if all you can grow is a 3x4 garden, just a 3x4, grow it. Grow something. You will be a contributor if you do. Just grow something. What? Cucumbers, tomato plants, onions, whatever you like. Whatever you like. Just grow it. And if everybody growed stuff just a little to help along, the system, I won't call it a system, I call it a manipulative force. It'd take a load off the farmers. I don't know if people think, but when, farming is a job, and when the farmers get to the point that it's like treading water or spinning in the mud or trying to run uphill, they'll throw in the towel. And then I'm just saying, I read bumper stickers years ago said, never have so few fed so many for so less, for so little, I think it said. Never has so few fed so many for so little. They work, they don't get paid what they're worth. And then on the other hand, you've got these big corporate farms, these big farms. They don't have to be, I'm talking about big farms, thousands of acres. Iowa style, Kansas, even Florida. They pay them subsidies to not grow stuff. I understand just a little bit of why that happened, or why they said it happened. You have to regulate the prices of stuff, If let's say cucumbers, for instance, was a penny a piece. They ain't apt to too many people try to grow cucumbers to sell. But if those cucumbers got up to $5 a piece or $10 a piece, and if the market wasn't somewhat regulated, well, I'd be growing them myself to sell, So everybody would dive in. That's what happens a lot of times on most things. Something will come up and the price will blow up like a balloon, and everybody will dive in and they'll flood the market, and then the next thing you know, they're back to a penny a piece. So I understand the regulation. That probably to a certain degree does protect the farmers. It's in business for a living that does that, and thank God they are, because anymore, your food may come from Mexico or Guatemala or Korea or Vietnam or China, Indonesia, Africa, and you don't know it. They regulated DDT many moons ago here in the United States. And then they opened this global trade stuff, and thanks to the fast transportation that they've got now, that they can pick a strawberry or a banana, have to pick it a little green, I guess, and ship it here before it gets ripe and have it on the shelf. You don't know whether it come from Florida or California or Kentucky or Iowa or West Virginia. You don't know where it come from. And they've been raising Cain trying to get them to label it where you can tell where your food sources come from. Because some places ain't regulated on their poisons that they spray on the food. You know, it's kind of an oxymoron to regulate something here. And rightly so, if it's deadly. They need to increase the list of regulations on deadly compounds. But I'll say it again, if they do, there'd be millions starved to death. Because if they don't spray some things, the insects will destroy them. And I don't care what nobody says. You can turn all the ladybugs you want loose and all the praying mantises. You can't do that on a 5,000 acre field. It just don't hardly gee-haw. We're gonna space this stuff out where we can cultivate it. That's part of the change I was telling you that's gonna happen here this year. And I think it's a wise change. Now what we can do is put her to sleep here. See, it's no big deal to cover this up. You can do this and never break a sweat. And we won't see that garlic no more till it sticks them little green tips up. I think this right here is quite important myself. I think it is. May not be, it may be a waste of time. Number one, push and pull. You can pull and push, however you want to do it. Just remember, it's coming winter. They need a little covering on them. You don't need to be buried a foot deep, that's for sure. 3 or 4 inches, 5. Number 2. So we've turned the Swiss chard into a garlic patch here. Little garlic cloves. We'll see you in a few weeks. Maybe. All right. Now what we have here is row number 3. They're in there. They'll be ready. Yeah, I've got plenty of room over here to plant another one. Maybe this will be the end of this for today. Maybe we don't have to wring that out no more. Yeah, them old mosquitoes, they'll just aggravate you to death. You know, I'm debating on this tree. This is a pollinator chestnut. And it just don't produce a lot of nuts. It produces a lot of pollen now. Well, what this is here is part 2 of preparing the garlic beds for the 2024 season. Got them covered up and got 3 rows of garlic in, got them covered up, planted, got them all spaced properly. And I'll tell you what I'm itching to do, and I think I will, is I'm going to go get the little cub, and I'm just going to put down through there and see what kind of spacing that I created for myself. Might as well. Let's go get it and try it. I think that's what I want to do. Let's try it and see what happens. I just want to run down through there and see how it makes a path. That's all I want to do. I just want to go down through here and see what it looks like as if I was cultivating this thing. That's all I want to do. And then I'll just wheel back around this way. Because that's what I'd be doing. Just a checking to see how it would do. I'm low on hydraulic fluid. I need to go over and put some in. I think this will work out perfect. I think it'll work out perfect. Yes, sir. I think it will. Yeah. Just that simple. Oh yeah. I don't think it could get much better than that. Let me go over here and put some fluid in this thing. I'm gonna run that up to the side there. This to be a playing a little bit here, because I know that string would be about the edge of it, and if I went up through here cultivating, I would be missing that, so I'd lay that down about like that. I'm just thinking that it'd be something like that. Yeah. I didn't have them down digging in very hard. When I went through there, it's barely skimming it. So Yeah. 1, 2, 3, and easily can get 4. I can get 4 through there. Just have to cut it a little short because I don't want to get around the roots of this tree if I keep it. All right. That looks about as good as it needs to be done today. We'll leave this string up because that's where the next row will go. Next year. And I don't know. I may throw me a few Egyptian walking onions in there. Why not? I could use that row right there for my lettuce, and that's something else I could plant. I'll plant me some lettuce before long, just for the heck of it. And it's sowed from here over. From here over is sowed. And I probably mashed my little my little things down. It's through here. That's all right. There's more. Yeah, there's more. There's some. I didn't knock them down there. If it would rain, a lot of these would come on. But it won't do nothing if it don't rain. And I'm not going to water it, so. You can see where I drug it 3 bales of hay through there, tilled it through there. That won't do nothing but help. That'll be it today. We're going to get out of here, see if we can't get this put together. All right, that'll be it. Peace.